Today with Cooking with Chef Mech, we are here about to try out a new recipe that I found online, which is going to be French onion soup. This is my first time trying out French onion soup, so who knows how it's going to turn out, but we are going to give it a try. If you want to check out where I got my resources, go to the YouTube links down below. Those are going to be the people that I watched make the French onion soup before me, and so we are going to be experimenting and seeing how that goes. So, first thing, now that we can start, the first thing that we need for a French onion soup is some onions. We're going to go ahead and start cutting about 6 onions or so, see how much that ends up being, so we can fill up this pot right over here to the top since it boils down and the onions, reduce in size. So we're going to go ahead and start cutting some onions. So I don't know if you can see that, but we're halfway through the onions and I'm literally crying. Like, my eyes are tearing up right now. All right, so we got our onions cut. Now we're over here heating up the pan a little bit. So we're gonna add a little bit of olive oil, just enough to sort of cover it. There's gonna be a ton of onions, so we wanna make sure that's good and ready. And then we're gonna move over here. We're also gonna add 3 tablespoons or so, maybe 6, depending on how much it is. Just a little bit of butter. The reason we add the olive oil as well is because the butter doesn't burn that way, so it's a nice little combination here. We're gonna let this melt a little bit around the pan, and then when it's fully melted, we go ahead, add the onions, slowly start cooking those as well. So we are making progress here. This is going to be the longest part, is just going ahead and caramelizing the onions, but once that's done, the soup is pretty much done as well. Alright guys, so we have our onions here ready to go. Our butter is sizzling, so it's getting pretty hot in here. Gonna go ahead and slowly start adding some of these onions into the bowl. Slowly try and break them up as much as possible and try and make sure they don't fly everywhere, which with my luck will probably happen, as you can see right there. Okay, the reason I put just a little bit in here, I'm making a mess, is we're gonna go ahead and take some salt and go ahead and salt it a little bit. This helps it sort of reduce the water in the onion faster and it makes it just caramelize a little bit faster. So we're gonna go ahead and slowly add some more onions until we reach the top. You want to have almost an exceeding amount of onions that it might seem like it's too much, but the reason for this is because you're making French onions, they will caramelize and boil down, so there is no problem with being scared of using a little bit of these onions to the max, because they will it will reduce to about this much anyway. So we're gonna let this guy sort of simmer around. We're gonna let it boil, caramelize once in a while, mix it around to make sure that it's equally trying to get cooked at the same time. So anyways guys, I'll catch you guys when we are done caramelizing the onions and ready to move on to the next part of this French onion soup. The nice thing about this is there isn't too much mixing going on. If you just leave it on medium to low heat, it will slowly cook itself by itself, so you don't have to mix it. I mix it every 5 to 10 minutes or so. I'll go ahead and give it a nice little swirl, try to bring up the pieces on the bottom, put them on the top. This way it sort of gets an even nice cook here. But the nice thing is that even if you don't do this, it's okay if the onions get burnt on the bottom. We will be actually deglazing it with some wine, so this will actually be making it doesn't really matter too much. We're close to the 2-hour mark here of cooking our onions, so we can see that they are starting to actually get a little burnt. I don't know if you can see that, a little bit of black spots right there, but we are starting to get a little burnt edges and bottom. So we're gonna mix them a little bit more here. I did lower the heat to a nice simmer between simmer and low to make this cook a little bit slower, but we are almost there. All right, so we're back here. It's been over 2 hours of caramelizing onions. It's been like 2 hours and 10 minutes, 20 minutes here, but we have finally gotten to a nice golden brown of our onions. So I did lower the heat just a little bit here to go ahead and make sure that the onions weren't burning. But now that we have this done, we are going to take out our white wine anything that's a white wine but has to be dry. You don't want any sweet wine. The onions are already sweet, so you don't want to go anything sweeter. You just want to keep something that's dry. So we are going to use actually 2 cups of this wine. But first, before we even start that, you got to taste the wine. Now that we taste tested it, it's been a long day, guys. You know, you got to go ahead and pour the wine around here. And the point of the wine here is to go ahead and actually decaramelize the bottom of the pan. That's there. We take another sip. So now we're just gonna go ahead, cook it down for a couple of minutes here, 10 to 20 minutes. All right, so before we got the wine here in, been mixing it just a little bit, but we are going to actually add some flour. But we're gonna do about 2 tablespoons of flour. Just gonna mix it together, keep mixing it. So anyways, so we finished cooking the wine a little bit into the onions, and so we're gonna be adding some beef stock now. We're gonna add about 2 liters here. So 1 liter if you're using about 6 onions. We're gonna go about 2. We'll see how that works out. So we're gonna go ahead and slowly pour our beef broth in. Let's do it. Just gonna nicely mix it up. We will let this guy sort of simmer through and add ourselves some extra seasoning here, some herbs. So, catch you guys then. Now, we're going to go ahead and add some herbs here. So, we're going to do a little bit special cooking. So, normally, you would get some fresh ones if you can, tie them together, plop them in there. What we're actually going to do is use parsley here with these leaves. So, we could go ahead and open this guy up. Just add a little bit to the palm here. Can crush them together. Add a nice little sort of flavoring to it. Now moving on, since we don't have any of these dried basil or thyme, we're actually going to use these essential oils that my mom has as well. So these are going to be our substitute for the actual herb. So they smell really nice, and they're basically a full extract of the actual herb. So we're just gonna do 1 drop here. There we go. So 1 drop, barely see that. Probably just stir it in there. All right, so we have let this simmer for about 20-ish minutes here. As you see, the broth actually sort of went down a little bit. So we're going to add a little bit of brandy here to just add a little extra taste here. And so first off, always do a little bit of a taste test. Tastes pretty good. So we can go ahead, just add a sprinkle of it. Nothing too crazy. That should be enough. Just add some extra flavor here. And I will say, as the broth was cooking, the flavor did change a lot. So make sure you're not adding salt or pepper until the very end to see what all the flavors do together. We're almost done. It's been a long journey. Guys, that is awesome. Alright, so we're going to use some leftover loaf bread here, French bread, that we're going to do. So we are going to be using these bowls. See, that probably takes about 3 of these, so it should be good enough to just do 6 or so slices. I actually did 7, so we'll keep these here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead, throw this in the toaster. Oh, anyways, guys. Anyways, we are back here. I swear, I wasn't tasting anything. I was just, it's water. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, our toast is nice and ready. You take some garlic here and just nicely rub it on the toast. Try not to burn your fingers. Now you'll see that I'm actually putting them face down from how they were toasted. Reason for that is once we do fill up the soup, we will put the toast side down. I go ahead over here, put some onion soup into this bowl to fill up to about the top, somewhere around here, so we still have enough space to put our toast and our cheese on there. So, there we go. Go ahead. You can see how just rich and thick the soup is. There's all that onions, almost no broth, which is just the way we want it. Alright, so that should be about enough here. So we got to the top. You move it over. Place it down here to the side. And we're just going to go ahead and nicely plop these toasts on top. Where we can fit it in. Alright, so now that we got this on top, go ahead and add a hefty amount of cheese to go ahead and cover the bowl here. So we'll add it on here. Grab it here, and if you follow me, we are going to put this amazing soup back in the toast for a bit. We have it set at about 450 degrees, just broil. Alright, so we let this cook here for a little bit. It took a little bit longer just because of the cheese, but we take a nice look here. Nice and cooked. Carefully grab it so we don't burn ourselves. Put it on here. And then we can go ahead and let this cool off just a little bit as I put the new bowl here. So, some picture times. Alright guys, so we have successfully made the French onion soup. We are going to go ahead, take a quick taste here, let you guys know how it tasted, and then that'll be it for today. Hopefully you guys make this yourselves, see how it goes. So the trick to making a good French onion soup is that you want to actually sort of dip in here and get your cheese, get your bread, and get the onions at the same time. So it's a little messy here. Besides the fact that burned my whole entire mouth off, just for you guys, this is probably the best French onion soup I've ever made. Well, this is the first French onion soup I've ever made, but this is the best French onion soup I've ever tasted. It's so good. The cheese is nicely blended with just the bread and the actual soup. It's awesome. It's fantastic. I definitely recommend this recipe. Doing it the way we did. Tastes amazing. I will say French onion is one of my go-to soups, but this definitely is the cream of the crop. I really enjoyed it. It tastes so good. Definitely recommend making this. So anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this cooking shows, let me know, because we're going to be making a lot more. If there's anything you guys want me to make or you guys would be interested in seeing me make, just let me know in the comments down below, and we can make something happen. That being said, make sure you like this video, subscribe. This took a very long time. Guys, I've been at this for about 4 hours here. It's about 9 p.m. I gotta check up on my soup, so I gotta let you guys go. But make sure you leave a like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, and join the Mech family. Join the Mech family. Join the Mech family to check out more Mech cooking and Chef Mech videos on this channel. With that, guys, peace out, and I'm gonna go ahead and enjoy more of the soup. Goodbye.